Hey guys, it's Brent, and I'm back with co-host Carla.
Hi.
Good to see you. It's been a hot minute, as I was saying before we started recording, and it's good to be back doing the panel track versus track videos. And we've got a good one for you, kiddies. So you want to strap on and get your beverages now, and get your lists out, and be ready to go along with us on your picks and what your predictions are. We love seeing that in the comments. Love seeing that in the chat. People getting involved and engaging and talking about their favorite songs and why, and talking about what their picks are and what they think. And it's going to be really cool. We're going to be doing track versus track, and I kind of evened it up a little bit. Instead of having 9 tracks for Destroyer go up against 10 tracks on Kiss, we eliminated Kissin' Time, since it wasn't an original track on the original album, and made it 9-9. And it made for some very interesting matchups and some very interesting results. So we had all over the place. People were picking that Kiss was going to win. People were picking that Destroyer was going to win. And we're going to get to the bottom of it, and we're going to count these 9 tracks down and get to it. First, we're going to talk about our panel. And it's a big one. You guys really came out for this one. This is a 61 person panel with me and Carla. And from YouTube, John B. Good. A lot of familiar names. John B. Good, Stephen Joens, It's All For You Demon, Rick, my buddy Rick, Paul Bertolino, Future Squash 767, Michael Avant, Jay Lee, Travis Mulgard, Snake Hips 3131, Trevor Bullock, Jesse Ray, Hard Rock Reverie, Toy Bonnie Guy, Mikkel D, Emily Graziano, Raven FM, Joe Jenkins, Jay Reed, Jeremy Kimona, John Spence, Logan Shevert, Two Gay Dads, Les Wadley, Georgie Halick, Carolina Hard Rock, Super Kiss 1200, Joel Pegg, Chad Casey, John O, Armand 1972, Specs, Sublime 130, and Roger Bennett. From Twitter, the gang's all here. Tom Dust, Andy, Darren Helliwell, David King, Tony Rod, DG from Tennessee, Bob Salinka, Half Ace, Steve Hardy, Bree Strutter, Hockey Nut 31, Bill Sharp, and Chris Johnson. From Instagram, the usual suspects, the Clarences, Jay Rucker, AJ Zetro 1975, Justin Churchy Hansey, Jeffrey Mydale. And from Facebook, a strong Facebook showing this time, Frederick Scalen, Ray Kelly, Matt Ucci, Scott Kushka, Ray Myers, Joan Elizabeth, also known as Bizbag 68, Bethany Dawn, and my boy Scotty Sky. So big panel. Everybody showed up to support Destroyer and to support Kiss. And it was really good to see a big one like this. It makes me kind of wonder what we're going to see with the track versus track versus track versus track for the solo albums, which is going to be next. Go ahead and get that out front. That's going to be next. And then after that, we're going to be looking at we're going to just go ahead and pair Rock and Roll Over up against Love Gun and see what happens with those two. Then I'm not sure what I'm going to do about the live albums just yet, because there's so many weird. They're not tracked the same. We may move on into some 80s Kiss. We may jump a little bit into some non-makeup era stuff. And may skip over things like Dynasty, The Elder, Unmasked. May skip over some of those for now. I don't know. I've not made my mind up yet. But I know we have a lot of you guys that came in the 80s, and 80s Kiss is your era. So I want to get to some of those tracks and see how some of those do against some original member matchups. Makeup versus non-makeup, track versus track. So those are going to be fun as well.
Yeah.
So let's just go right out of the gate, Carla. your prediction between who's going to win. Who do you think is going to win between Destroyer and Kiss, and why?
Well, I think both of these albums are really sacred to Kiss fans. You know, they really hold these albums in high regard, and so for this one, for me, I think this was the hardest one for me to decide what the panel was going to pick because, like I said, people love these two albums, but I honestly think the debut album's going to win. I really do.
I my thoughts 100%. No sense in repeating them. I thought the same thing. These are two albums that are very near and dear to a lot of people's hearts. But I know that there's a little bit of grumblings out there about Destroyer being overrated.
Hmm.
And so I kind of listened a little bit to that grumble, and that caused me to pick the first Kiss album over Destroyer as far as what I predict,
Hmm.
what is going to happen. And so we'll go to, I guess, and one thing I want to do on this one that me and you haven't really done on the last one is which one we ended up picking the most tracks off of.
Okay. Yep.
So just kind of look at which one, when we get done totaling out, which one we picked the most tracks of,
Yep.
and then we'll talk about the favorite album covers between the two album covers towards the end, as we always do.
Sounds good.
So, what is your out of the gate track number one? We have two classics. We have
Hmm.
Strutter off of the debut album versus Detroit Rock City off of Destroyer. What's your prediction?
Well, that's what makes this really hard is because you have classics up against classics, and that happens more than once with this track versus track. So I knew it was going to be hard when I saw what number one and number one were going to be. I went, oh my gosh, how do I do this? But I think it's going to be Detroit Rock City.
Okay. I know that Strutter is loved. It's dearly loved. But it's not. I wouldn't put Strutter like up on a high pedestal, and I think it's just because they don't play it live anymore. You know, it was
Mhm.
real heavy rotation around the live era, but it's you've not really heard Strutter played live in a very long time, and
Right.
I think that lack of support from the band has caused people to kind of forget about it until they hear it, and then they're like, "Oh man, I love Strutter."
Yeah.
But I think it's just because the bands kind of forgot about it. The fans do a little too. So that caused me to predict also with you that Detroit Rock City was going to win this one.
Mhm.
So what the panel picked, and then we'll talk about what we. Well, let's go ahead and talk about what we picked. Let's go ahead and talk about what we picked. So, which one did you pick as your favorite song between these two?
I had to go with Detroit Rock City. It's just one of those songs where when I put it up against another song, it's going to be really hard for any song to beat out Detroit Rock City for me. I've said it in the previous videos. This song, I'm biased. I have a special connection to Detroit. So for me, this is like almost like my anthem in a way because it's just, I hear it every time I go to any Detroit sports game. You're going to hear this song at least once. So for me, I had to go with Detroit Rock City.
Well, anybody that knows me and knows my channel and has not just crawled under a rock knows there was there's no comparison to me. And I'm like you. It's gonna have to be a real special song to beat Detroit Rock City for me.
Mhm.
It's the first Kiss song I ever heard, and it has so far forever been my favorite Kiss song. And so I went with Detroit Rock City on this one as well. What the panel went with between Detroit Rock City and Strutter, and this was honestly more decisive than I thought it was going to be.
Oh.
49 points to 11 points. 49 to 11. The panel chose Detroit Rock City with 49 points, Strutter with 11. So that takes Destroyer up one out of the gate. So, so what about track number two for you? What is your prediction for Nothing to Lose off of the first Kiss album versus King of the Nighttime World?
I think the debut album is going to tie it up here. I think the panel is going to choose Nothing to Lose.
Okay. Um, I kind of thought that the panel was going to kind of continue their role with Detroit Rock City, because a lot of people that like Detroit Rock City also like King of the Nighttime World.
Hmm.
And so I thought that they were going to bookend those two together, and it was going to
Hmm.
be King of the Nighttime World that was going to get this one and take Destroyer up too. Um,
Hmm.
so my prediction is King of the Nighttime World. What's your personal pick?
My personal pick is King of the Nighttime World. I truly love this song, and I know some people don't like it. Um, I just think it's a really great song, and Nothing to Lose is great too. But between the two, there's just more of an energy to King of the Nighttime World, and I do love that flow that
Mm-hmm.
it has with Detroit Rock City. So yeah, I kind of was what you were saying is I kind of booked them together. So I went with King of the Nighttime World.
All right. Me personally, I went with Nothing to Lose on this. I love King of the Nighttime World, and I almost bookended it. But then I kind of, this is one of those where it was like a one or the other for me. And so I went and I did what I did with my tiebreakers is I went back and I listened to both songs pretty much back to back. And just when Peter comes in and singing that "You got nothing to lose," it's just like it's just I love Nothing to Lose, and it's just some of those classic Kiss riffs that you hear on the first album,
Hmm.
and that sound that the first album has that people love or hate.
Hmm.
I like it better than the Hotter Than Hell sound, but I still think a lot of these songs are played a little too slow. And I agree with a lot of people that said stuff in the comments where they like the demos better.
Yeah.
I do like the demos better than the actual. It'd be nice to someday get a box set that has some demos and maybe some remixes or things like that. Some actual real remixes, not remasters, but remixes.
Hmm.
But yeah, I went with Nothing to Lose personally on this one for me. It's one of my favorite songs off of the first album. So me and you are split on this one. So where the panel comes in is quite interesting. This is a little less definitive. It's actually quite close, but edging out the edging out the one song between King of the Nighttime World and Nothing to Lose. King of the Nighttime World 34, Nothing to Lose 27.
Ah.
So King of the Nighttime World wins another one for Destroyer, and it is now 2-0. The debut album is going to have to start knocking some punches really quick here because we only got 9 tracks.
Hmm.
All right, so that brings us to the third track pairing, Firehouse from the first album going up against the the gigantic God of Thunder.
Yeah, I this was another one that I thought, man, this could really go either way. But I think it's going to be God of Thunder.
Okay, um, I predicted God of Thunder as well. I think Firehouse is a personal favorite of mine. It's one.
Mhm.
It's probably in my top 5 favorite Paul Stanley songs. And to know that he wrote this song when he was about 16 years old is just amazing to me. And he was emulating somebody else, so that's something that he would do all through his career. So he was already laying the foundation of who he was going to be at such a young age. And the early demos, he sounds so good. I love the demo of this. It's got all these extra parts and this extra little middle to it. And although I kind of like the version that ended up on the first album better than
Mhm.
the demo's kind of a really cool thing to listen to hear the progress of a song. If you never heard the Firehouse demo, you should check it out. It's one of those that changes drastically from demo to finished product.
Mhm.
But yeah, but I still thought, even though I personally picked Firehouse for this, I think that the panel is going to choose God of Thunder. What was your pick?
My personal pick was God of Thunder. I love this song. It's one of my favorite Kiss songs. It is one of my favorite songs to listen to in October because it's spooky season with Halloween and it's perfect. It's actually we're having a thunderstorm right now outside, so it's even more perfect. Yeah, for me, I had to go with God of Thunder.
Okay. All right. So we split on that one again. Firehouse for me, God of Thunder for you. The panel chose, and it's the exact same numbers, 34 to 27, the exact same number as the difference between King of the Nighttime World and Nothing to Lose. The panel chose 34 to 27, God of Thunder 34, Firehouse 27. So Destroyer is now up 3-0 over the debut album.
Mm-hmm.
So, in a best of 7 situation, this is not looking very good, but it's the best of 9. So they still the debut album still has a chance, and it's got a lot of the debut album is very cool because it's got gems all the way through it.
Yeah.
It's strong at the front, strong in the middle, and strong at the end. So, whereas I think Destroyer has a tendency to start off real strong and kind of nosedive as it goes along.
Yeah.
So maybe Kiss will come back and beat it in the very end. So we'll just have to see. So that brings us to track 4 matchup. Cold Gin versus Great Expectations. And this is where I think that the debut album is going to get its first win.
This is where I know the debut album is going to get its first win. I'm going to be in a minority, of course. I always am with this one, but it's going to be Cold Gin for sure.
Yeah. And you personally pick which one?
Great Expectations all the way.
All right.
Always.
Well, we're split on this one again. I picked Cold Gin for me. Cold Gin is it's one of my favorite Ace Penn songs. It's one of my favorite Gene vocals. Mm-hmm. I love the riff. I love the breakdown that they did. The dun 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 dun. That's just early Kiss that did a lot of that. Those little jams that they stuck in the middle of songs that was real popular in the 70s. They did it with like Let Me Go Rock and Roll and Cold Gin. They did it, and so I always thought it was really cool when they do that. So I think Cold Gin is going to win this one, and I picked Cold Gin on this one. So me and you're split on it, but the panel.
And I love Cold Gin. I love Cold Gin. There is nothing about that song I dislike, but Great Expectations. Like I say this every time, it's going to be nearly impossible for anything to beat that song for me. So that's why. But I love Cold Gin.
Well, this was pretty definitive, and we are right. Kiss, the debut album does get its first win, 53-8. 53-8. It's the most decisive win so far on the track versus track. So that brings Kiss to 1 and keeps Destroyer at 3. So that puts us mid-album with Let Me Know from the debut album and Flaming Youth from Destroyer.
I think this is going to be another one for the debut album. I don't think it's going to be a runaway, but I think Let Me Know is going to win for the panel.
Okay. I actually predicted Flaming Youth on this one because even though me personally, I love Let Me Know. I love that Paul. I love when Gene and Paul sing together.
Yeah.
I love how Gene is singing like some of his early type of songs. This originally was Sunday Driver, and he's coming in, let me be your Sunday driver, And then Paul comes in and you see it on the Exposed. We talked about how Gene used to practice and he'd be singing songs like My Mother's Beautiful, and then Paul's coming in and we're playing and we're rocking. This song is like the epitome of that. It's like Gene is singing about let me be your Sunday driver and just kind of grooving, and then Paul comes in, did you ever want loving? So it's like it's the perfect contrast that really makes the first album so special. So I love Let Me Know, and so Let Me Know is my pick. But I think that Flaming Youth is going to win this one because Let Me Know is not a big juggernaut, and Flaming Youth isn't either, but it's a kind of a cult favorite when it comes to the Kiss fans. Kind of like Great Expectations wants to be, but Flaming Youth actually is. It's two of those songs on the album that makes Destroyer.
Yeah.
But I think Flaming Youth is more socially accepted by the hardcore fans. So I think Flaming Youth was going to win between the two. So you pick Flaming Youth personally. I pick Let Me Know personally. And you predicted Let Me Know.
Mm-hmm.
And I predicted Flaming Youth. All right.
Yep.
All right. So between Let Me Know and Flaming Youth, this is close. 5-point difference. But with 33 points to 28 points, Flaming Youth 33, Let Me Know 28. Flaming Youth edges Let Me Know out by 5 points. That's another mark in the win column for Destroyer, and that now takes us 4-1 for the Destroyer album. So the next track, Deuce, and going up against Sweet Pain.
Think this is going to be one for the debut album because I hear a lot of people say that they don't like Sweet Pain. So independently, I hear a lot of people say that they like Deuce. It's another classic. So I think the panel is going to go with Deuce.
Okay. I think the panel is going to go with Deuce on this one because it's the classic. And Sweet Pain is, like you said, exactly. We feel exactly the same way. Now, I personally like Sweet Pain. I'm one of those fans. I enjoy Sweet Pain. I like the three what they call weird songs on Destroyer: Great Expectations, Flaming Youth, and Sweet Pain. Flaming Youth being my favorite, and Sweet Pain and Great Expectations kind of tied for second. So I can see how that, this is not as much a contender as Deuce is on this because Deuce is, Deuce is Deuce.
Yeah.
And it still gets a lot of heavy rotation, and it's still one of those songs that's in the front of people's. I think it's probably one of Gene's favorite songs to sing. He just looks like he's having so much fun, and I love that open line. Get up and get your grandma out of here. I mean, I love that. That's just the attitude is so great. So me personally, I went with Deuce, and I picked that the panel was going to choose Deuce. The panel actually chose with 53-8. This was another just as definitive win, tied with Cold Gin and Great Expectations. The panel chose 53-8 Deuce over Sweet Pain. And so that brings the debut album tally to 2 and keeps Destroyers at 4. So now that brings us to the kind of Achilles heel of the thing here. Love theme from Kiss that should have been Acrobat. It shouldn't have been cut. They could have just made the thing longer and not needed a 10th track and not ever had Kissin' Time on the album. And Love theme from Kiss could have been Acrobat and Much Too Young. It would have been the perfect album to me, other than the slowdown at the end of Black Diamond, which some people like, some people hate. I'm in the hate column. But so Love theme from Kiss against Shout It Out Loud, against the wannabe anthem from Destroyer. So what is your prediction?
Without a doubt, I think the panel's going to go with Shout It Out Loud.
Okay. Me too. Same thing here. Shout It Out Loud. I know Love theme from Kiss has its admirers, but and I'm even one of them. I would have liked it better if it was different, but I still admire it. But I don't think it's going to beat Shout It Out Loud, and that's not what I picked. I picked Shout It Out Loud for me. I think it should be the Kiss anthem. Mm-hmm. So I picked Shout It Out Loud for me personally. What about you?
I went with Love theme from Kiss. I love it. I mean, even though it's not Acrobat, I still love that they at least put that on there. Even if it's not the whole thing, you get a snippet of it, and fans or listeners that are completely unaware of Acrobat, they still have that to listen to. Mm-hmm. I mean, I love Shout It Out Loud, but I couldn't make it a complete runaway for Destroyer for my personal pick, so I had to put Love theme from Kiss in there.
All right. So we're split on a lot of these. I don't think we've agreed. We agreed on Detroit Rock City, and we've not agreed on one yet. After that, we're split on a lot. That's awesome. So 54-7. 54-7. Shout it out loud. 54. Love theme from Kiss. 7. So that takes it to 5-2. So the writing is beginning to be on the wall here. If you can do math, simple math, writing is about to be on the wall. So, but we still have 4 really good tracks to go up against each other. Classics, 4 classics.
Yeah.
So, 100,000 Years from the debut album going against the smash hit Beth. What do you think?
Sorry, Peter. I think it's going to be 100,000 years. I just hear so much hate for Beth that I didn't think the panel was going to go that way. So I think it's going to be 100,000 years.
Yeah. If my panel was, I think my demographic on my YouTube is like 98% male, 2% female. I need more females watching my channel. But if it's 98% male, 2% female, and a demographic, the largest demographic is between 35 and 55. So it's, of male and female together. So it's people that have been Kiss fans for a long time. And that's my largest my Kiss videos, hands down, get the most views. Everything else dwarfs compared to it. But so I think if I would have had a larger female demographic, that Beth would have done better.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Because Beth was a song for the chicks, Yeah. I mean, let's just say it. It was a song for the chicks. And so I love Beth. I respect Beth. But it's not one of my favorite songs, but I don't dislike it. And I like the symphony version. But I think 100,000 Years was going to win here. And me personally, I went with 100,000 Years. And so what did you pick personally?
I personally picked Beth. I don't hate the song at all. I really like it. It's not a song I could listen to on repeat over and over again. But it has its moments where I listen to it and I go, yeah, that sounded nice today. That was nice. And 100,000 Years just always... I don't know, there's something about that song that just never grabbed my attention. And it's just one of those songs I kind of forget about. And I have to listen to it again to be like, oh, yeah, that's what it is. So for me, I had to go with Beth.
Okay. All right. So me and you were split again on that one.
Yeah.
And we'll probably be split again on the next one. So let's see. This wasn't a landslide. I mean, it was still a brutal beating, but it wasn't a landslide. 47-14. 100,000 Years scored 47 points. Beth scored 14 points. So that brings 100,000 Years brings the Kiss album to a total of 3, and Beth stays at 5. Going into the final track on the album, Black Diamond, the Juggernaut versus Do You Love Me? And Preacher Paul.
I love Preacher Paul. I love a good Preacher Paul moment. I think it's going to be Black Diamond.
Okay. I predicted Black Diamond as well. And I picked Black Diamond as well because Preacher Paul. But no, I love Black Diamond. Some people picked Do You Love Me basically because I heard some people say, I love Black Diamond until it gets to the end. And I love Black Diamond until it gets to the end too. And I usually stop it. Usually as soon as I hear the tape start to slow down, I usually, if I'm going to listen to this album again, which sometimes I'll listen to them on repeat, I'll start it over, or I'll usually go on to the next album. I typically listen to Hotter Than Hell. I listen to them. I'm weird. I listen to them in chronological order. So if I'm going to be doing bulk listening. So yeah, I hate that last part too. Some people like it. They dig it. They think it sounds really creepy when the tape's so slow that you hear it warbling. And, some people love that part. And it is creepy. And it just adds to that whole element of the album. But even with that, I still went with Black Diamond as my personal favorite on between the two. What about you?
Well, I do love the slower down part at the end. I think it is creepy and cool, and I do like it. But I did have to go with Do You Love Me on this, so you were right. We were going to be split again. Um, like I said, I love Preacher Paul. This is a great Preacher Paul song. And I just in general, I just really, really like this song. And I think if I put the two up against each other, I'm going to tend to go more towards Do You Love Me? Like, I'm going to tend to listen to that more often than I
Mm-hmm.
am Black Diamond. But both amazing songs. But for me, I had to go with Do You Love Me?
Yeah. And it, and I love the attitude of this song coming off of Dress to Kill. Paul Stanley had embraced that rock and roll lifestyle and being the front man and being the sex symbol, being viewed as the sex symbol of the band. And so he started singing about it with songs like Room Service and Do You Love Me is, the opening line, you really like my limousine, and just that whole attitude, the way that he sings it.
Yeah.
And the innuendos, the you like my 7-inch leather heels. I mean, I love this song. I love the visuals of it and everything. But
Yeah.
I can't, when he turns into Preacher Paul, I just got to know if you really, 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 really love, and when he gets into that, I just got to have some love, and he's fading out, and they're like, I just got to have some love, 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 love. I mean, he's just repeating himself as they're fading it out, and I'm just like, you make my head hurt. Do You Love Me is one of those songs. It's almost like Black Diamond when it gets to a certain point. I
Yeah.
love that whole first part, but when it gets to the part at the end where they start bringing the bells in, and it's the choir comes in behind him, and he's saying, I just got to know if you really, 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 really love me. I get to the part where he says, so come on. And when they start to go into the Do You Love
Cool.
Me, it's
Yeah.
usually click. Okay, let's move on to Rock and Roll Over, all right? So, um, so we were split again. I kind of figured you was going to go in that direction.
Yep.
So which way did the panel go? 48-13, pretty definitively. 48-13, the panel chose Black Diamond over Do You Love Me. So
Hmm.
that brings Kiss to 4, but Destroyer didn't need the win with Do You Love Me. They already were at 5. So that brings our total of Destroyer to 5, Kiss to 4. It was close. We knew there was going to have to be a winner, and with it only being 9 tracks, it's probably going to be, by one
Yeah.
track. So, honestly, I went into this thinking it was going to be Kiss. Some people were like, Kiss all the way, man. Destroyer is going. My friend Scott sent me a thing. When he sent me his list, he's like, Destroyer is going down. And I'm like, man, I don't know. Because he was like late getting his picks in, and I'd already started tallying up. And I'm sitting
Hmm.
here going, man, his picks ain't going to change nothing. There's none of these songs within 1 or 2 votes, and his
Right.
picks wasn't going to change nothing.
Hmm.
Just maybe give some more points to some of the Kiss album songs. Because I
Yeah.
think all except for one song, or he may have picked the whole Kiss album. And some people did that. They're like the whole album, and I was like, okay, well that's sweet, And then some people's like, all of Kiss except for this for Destroyer, and they were really definitive, just like flat out, just like going in and voting, just the whole Republican ticket, or vote Democrat all the way down, or vote
Yeah.
Republican. It's like Kiss all the way down, or
Right.
Destroyer all the way down. There was a lot of that. There was people that actually picked at the track off of every track off of one album.
Hmm.
They didn't kind of go back and forth like me and you did, but a lot of people did do that. I found a lot of people's picks went kind of in line with mine. So I picked 7-2. The only songs I picked off of Destroyer was Detroit Rock City and Shout It Out Loud. So I was one of those Kiss bros, that went hard for the debut album. So what about you? Which one did you pick the most off of?
Once again, we are split. I picked one off the debut album. That was Love Theme from Kiss, and the rest was all Destroyer.
Uh huh.
Which is crazy because I love the debut album. But I guess when you think about it, from the first album to Destroyer, those are two totally different albums, by two totally different guys at that point. You know, they were totally different. And so they're just very different albums. So you can absolutely love both of these albums, but your picks might completely sway one way, which is what happened to me. And I had no idea that was going to happen until I was actually going through my list.
Yeah. And I think what happens with the track versus track a lot is it actually puts, a lot of times it puts two songs up against each other that you really care about, and you're forced to make a decision between the two of them. That's a real important vote. That becomes a real important vote for one of those songs. And then you end up having two songs against each other that you might not really care too much about either one of them, but you have to pick a winner.
Right.
But if you were just sitting and somebody was going, tell me some of your favorite songs off Destroyer, that song that it might be up against another song off of Kiss that you don't really care for and you don't really care for it, you might not even pick either one of those songs. But you got to pick it with the track versus track if it's stacked up against another song that you like less.
Right.
So, and that's what makes it really tough. All right, let me grab my albums and let's look at these front covers really quick. So let's do the album covers. So we have original album, and I know I'm catching hella glare off the laptop. Well, we got the original album. Probably can take it out of the thing a little bit. Might be a little better. There we go. Iconic. Going against Iconic. I'm sorry it's backwards. But so, what about you?
I mean, yeah, you said it. They're both extremely iconic. I think for me, though, I think I'm going to have to go with the debut album just because that really set the stage for who the band was. I mean, you knew from the second you looked at that album, like, okay, this is not Pat Boone that I'm about to listen to. Like, this is going to be something a little dark, a little different. And it's just, Gene 100% makes that cover for me. Every time I look at that cover, I just go right to Gene's face. I love it. It is one of my favorite album covers of all time, so I think I am going to have to go with the debut album for that.
This was a tough decision for me, putting these two up against each other. It is two classics against each other, but the Destroyer Classic is an album that was, 5 albums in, whereas this one was the one out of the gate. And there's a lot of things I don't like about this album cover. I don't like Peter's makeup.
Right.
I've seen outtakes from this shoot, and there were so many better pictures. And if this would have been done during the Photoshop era, which I mean they did a cropping back then that this could have been 4 different pictures and they could have put it together as they wanted.
Yeah.
But I've just seen pictures with better looks on their faces. About the only person I like Gene's. I'm just kind of curious why Gene's not sticking his tongue out. My conspiracy theory is that he hadn't had the cow tongue sewn on yet. So,
That's right.
So he didn't have the tongue to stick out. My other conspiracy theory is this is not the Gene that we have now, that this is a different Gene. This Gene died, but he does have Gene's nose and his teeth. I think it's funny that they've got white in their hair. Like everybody has white in their hair. Ace has silver in his hair.
Yeah.
Gene has silver at the end of his hair. It's like what are y'all doing? Peter's makeup. It's like, come on. I've actually seen some people on social media lately where they've been redoing the makeup and somebody redid this and it looked really cool.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Ace is looking up. Maybe people's like, oh, he's looking up at Jindal, and like, yeah, but I don't know. And it even looks like they've got makeup on their necks. Like the makeup comes all the way down their necks. They look dead. I mean, it's like his neck looks blue. So about the really only person that I really enjoy the way they look on this album, but it's still weird, is Paul. I like the way Paul looks. I like that attitude and that pucker. But what's up with the forehead, Paul? And you see a lot of early pictures of them in concert and stuff, and early promotional pictures and stuff, he had the forehead. He didn't have the bang. He wasn't rocking the bangs, and he had the forehead. And back during this time, he was switching back and forth between the Bandit. So you kind of always wonders, what if Paul would have stayed the Bandit?
Yeah.
But one of the things, I just love this cover. Even though I pick it apart, I love it. This is like, yes, we are Kiss. Just as like, this is the Beatles, which is what they were emulating. This is Kiss. And I've always loved the disco ball or the sequin. It's sequins, but when I was a kid, just I think because of the back, I always thought those were like disco balls. But they're sequins. Yeah. But they look like disco balls. They really do.
Yeah, or like rhinestone, yeah.
Yeah, and I like how the tracks and the credits is all done like this. It's very 70s, very simple packaging, but still iconic as it can be, and it's the first iconic. This is the close-up. This is Kiss. This is who we are. And this is through them self-promoting and becoming superheroes. This is when they entered the superheroes era, because if you notice, it's like the first 3 album covers and Alive was pictures. There was a picture on here. Hotter Than Hell was a picture. Dressed to Kill was a picture. Alive was a picture. Then a drawing, and a drawing for Destroyer, Rock and Roll Over, and Love Gun, because they were becoming those. They were becoming what Kiss was going to need to become. So, but yeah. So, long story short, long-winded answer. I picked this one. That's my favorite between the two.
Yeah. We weren't split on that.
No, we weren't split on that. We didn't split. We agreed on one thing, and we agreed on Detroit Rock City. So you're cool with me, because I believe if you'd have picked Strutter over Detroit Rock City, I might have had to throw you out. I might have had to throw you out. Might be like, anybody who wants to be a co-host.
Right.
So that's all. So that's all we've got for this one. It was very interesting, and it didn't go quite the way I thought it was going to go, but Kiss put up a hard fight, and 5-4 is not bad at all. So put your comments down in the comments section below. We want to hear what you think. Give a thumbs up. I need to say that closer to the beginning. Give a thumbs up. Put your comments down in the comments section below, and get ready for track versus track versus track versus track. I'm going to start saying track times 4 for the solo albums. Now, I'm going to go ahead and give you a little bit of groundwork here, just so you know. All right, so this is how it's going to work. I'm just going to give you track 1, for example. And yes, I know Gene's album is 11 tracks, and I know that Peter's is 10, and I know that Ace and Paul's are only 9. Well, guess what? Boo-hoo. Peter and Gene are going to face off. They're only going to be the only ones facing off for track 10. And Gene is going to get a mulligan by having When You Wish Upon a Star, nobody go against it. So he is going to get a win with When You Wish Upon a Star, and I'm okay with that, because that's Gene's song. That's Gene's song that's near and dear to his heart. I'm okay with him getting a win for that, uncontested. I'm okay with that. So Track 10 will be, I think it's I Can't Stop the Rain and See You in Your Dreams against each other for track 10. There is no track 10 on Paul's and Aces. And 11, you're going to go ahead and score that, See You in Your Dreams. Don't leave it off, because it's going to win, because there's nobody to go against it. If one person votes for it, it's going to win. Mm-hmm. And now in the other ones, it's like, okay, track number 1. Me and my son was talking about this. He was like, oh man, track number 1, Gene's album, Radioactive.
Yep.
Track number 1 off Peter's album, I'm Gonna Love You, which is one of my favorite songs off that album. Paul Stanley, Tonight You Belong to Me. Mm-hmm. And Ace, Rip It Out. So those 4 tracks go up against each other. You have to pick just one for track 1. Just one. and it's going to be so fun. It's going to be so hard, and it's going to be so fun, and I cannot wait to see the results.
Yeah, that's gonna be a real. Yeah, I'm very excited for that.
So go ahead now. Go ahead and start listening, and by the time you see this, the post is going to be up for the track versus track versus track versus track for the 4 solo albums, and that'll take us through the end of October. So it's
Yeah.
been a good month. It's been a very quick month for me. I think I lost almost 2 weeks out of September, and I lost about a week and a half out of October. So
Hmm.
it's like I'm back among the living, but whew, I was down for a while. But we're back, and so we're going to do some cool stuff in November and December, and look forward to having you guys along the way and having Carla along the way with me.
Absolutely. Can't
All right.
wait.
Any final thoughts on this?
No, same as you said. I was really excited to see where the panel was going to go with this. I thought it was going to be more heavy on the debut album than Destroyer, but I'm happy with the results. And yeah, this was a really good one. And I'm really, really looking forward to the solo albums. That's really going to be fun. Really going to be fun.
It really is. We'll get through them and we'll have us a good time, and hopefully it'll be a nice big panel, and we'll just have an awesome time. It's gonna
Yeah.
be it's gonna be a hellacious thing to compile, but it may take me about a week to compile it. So just be looking for that to go up, and please try to get your votes in by the due date so I can get on the compiling and get it all put together for us. All right, that's all that I've got for this one. I'm Brant. She is Carla. Wave bye, and we're out.
Bye.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Thanks, guys.